Hi everyone, I am Mel Robertson and I want to welcome you to the Dare to Dream Bigger Summit. We're going to learn how to harness the power of creation, get clear about your desires, and bring your biggest dream into reality. I'm so excited to share with you the expert that I have for you today. Her name is Dr. Susan Shumsky, and I chose her because she lives on blind faith and inner guidance. You're going to love her because she's going to help you to remember the truth of your magnificence. Dr. Susan Shumsky has dedicated her life to helping people take command of their lives in highly effective, powerful, positive ways. She is the best-selling author of 10 books published by Simon & Schuster, Random House, and New Page. Some of her book titles include Miracle Prayer, Divine Revelation, How to Hear the Voice of God, and Ascension. Dr. Shumsky is a highly respected spiritual teacher, award-winning author, and founder of Divine Revelation, a unique field-proven technology for contacting the divine presence, hearing and testing the inner voice, and receiving clear divine guidance. For 22 years, her mentor was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who was guru of the Beatles and guru of Deepak Chopra. Shumsky served on Maharishi's personal staff for 7 years. Hi, Dr. Susan. Welcome.
I'm so glad to be here with you today.
I'm so excited to have you. It's such an honor. And you are all about learning how to hear the inner voice and hearing the voice of God. And this is the Dare to Dream Bigger Summit, where we're going to learn how to harness the power of creation. So I think harnessing the power of creation requires that we learn how to hear that inner voice. Can you talk about that for us?
I truly believe that if you want to manifest anything, the number one step before you attempt to focus on that thing or try to pray for that thing or visualize it or intend for it, before you do any of that, number one most important thing to do is to find out what you want to manifest. So, in other words, in order for you to find out what you should be doing in your life or what's highest wisdom for you, what will help you to manifest your true purpose, your true destiny, that which you came on earth to do, you might call it your mission or whatever your calling. So, in order to discover that, the best way to do that is to ask Spirit first. I believe that people are praying backwards. In other words, what they're doing is they're making a laundry list of all the things that they want to manifest before even finding out what is highest wisdom for them to manifest in the first place.
Right. Just ask. That's a huge concept. Just ask.
Right.
You just have to ask. Okay. So when we ask and when we go in, what kind of ways would we expect for that guidance to start showing up for people who've never really begun to listen to that?
Well, it comes in one of three ways. Either seeing, that's a visual impression that you get in your inner eye, or you would get words that would come into your inner ear, or you'd get feelings like a gut feeling. Those are the three basic ways that we receive messages from spirit with a capital S. So it would be either visual, kinesthetic, or auditory.
Okay. Now, I understand you have quite an interesting story about you following your inner guidance for your book, Divine Revelation, being published. Would you mind sharing that?
Sure, I'd love to share that. What happened was with my first book, which is Divine Revelation, I was guided by spirit every step of the way. And the book basically wrote itself. It was written by spirit. And then when I wanted to get it published, I asked my still small voice, well, how do I do this? How do I get this published? And so I got a divine revelation. The divine revelation said, go to the library and find yourself a literary agent. So that was my big divine revelation. So I went to the library and I looked through the list of agents, and there was one name that stuck out, that really stood out. And I had a gut feeling he would be the best agent to represent me. And that was Jeff Herman. But it didn't make a whole lot of sense because Jeff Herman agents business books for Wall Street. But he had done one spiritual book. He had done Rabbi Kushner's book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. So there was some spirituality in his portfolio, one book. So in any case, I was led to Jeff Herman. And so I went ahead and I sent my proposal to Jeff Herman, but I didn't just send it to Jeff Herman because I didn't have quite that much faith. So I sent it to 30 agents. But the very first one to respond was Jeff Herman. And by the way, I'll just tell your listeners, your viewers, what a literary agent is. That's a person who sells your manuscript to the publisher. That's what they do. So amazingly, the very first agent to respond was Jeff Herman. He responded within 2 days after receiving my proposal. So I was completely blown away and I was elated, and I signed the contract with Jeff Herman. And he tried to sell it to various publishers, but he got a few rejections. And then all of a sudden I got this letter in the mail from Jeff Herman. And it's that back then we used actual mail. So I get a letter in the mail and it said, "We're very sorry, but we've had a staff shortage in your agency and we can no longer represent you." Well, I was completely devastated. Here my inner guidance had told me that I would get this great agent, and then he dropped me. So I went into meditation, Mel, because the best way for you to receive inner guidance is through meditation. So I went into a meditative state and I asked, because really it's no more difficult than simply asking.
Right.
And the basis of everything that I teach is ask and it shall be given unto you. So I went into meditation and I asked, and I received a very strange message. And that message said, "No, Jeff Herman is still your agent. Don't try to sign with another agent, and don't try to sell the book yourself." This message made absolutely no sense. But you know what? I'm just crazy enough to follow it because I believe in inner guidance and I live on blind faith. So I went ahead and I did what I was guided to do. I sent a letter to Jeff Herman. And, well, you can well imagine what happened. Well, nothing happened. That's what happened. And I'm sitting around and waiting for months, literally, and no response from Jeff Herman. All of a sudden, I get a letter in the mail from Jeff Herman, and it says, "We're so happy that you have so much faith in us, but we still can't represent you." So I went into meditation a second time. And you know what, Mel? I got the same message again. "Jeff Herman is still your agent. Don't try to sign with another agent, and don't try to sell the book yourself."
Wow.
And I was like, all right, okay, I'll try again. So I send another letter to Jeff Herman. My intuition still says you'd be the best agent to represent me. I'm sending this to the business book agent, right? But you can imagine what happened. Nothing happened. And then months go by. All of a sudden, I get a phone call from Jeff Herman. He says, "We're very impressed with your perseverance. We've decided to represent you. Come to my office, meet my partner. We're going to handle your book." So I go to the office in downtown Manhattan, and I meet his partner, and his partner, who works in the business book agency, by the way, they're selling business books. She's a psychic, and she gives me a psychic reading. I was like, okay, so maybe that was why I was guided to continue with this agency. Well, it turned out pretty well. My very first book was sold to Simon & Schuster.
Wow.
When Jeff Herman called me to tell me that the book had been sold to Simon & Schuster, I nearly went into cardiac arrest. It was like, really? Simon & Schuster, just the biggest publisher in the world, was to publish my first-time unknown spiritual New Age author who knows nothing about writing and who went to art school. So that was, what happened. And the editor at Simon & Schuster said it's the very best book she's ever edited since she started working for Simon & Schuster. So that was quite an amazing thing. So Jeff Herman is still my agent, by the way. He handles all of my books, and that's many, many years later, because I signed the contract with him in 1994.
Wow.
So it's 20 years ago.
Wow. So, Susan, how did you know that the inner guidance that you were getting was the highest good? How did you trust to follow it? Because I know a lot of my viewers, they'll get information, and then they're, well, I don't know if that's the right thing. Should I really do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a good thing to be a little bit skeptical, because the mind is a very fickle thing, and you can be receiving your messages from one of four places, either the spiritual world, the mental world, the astral world, or the environmental world. So those are four different places you might be receiving your messages from. So that's why it's very important to be cautious and discerning when it comes to listening to the inner voice. So I have a 10-step system that, in my opinion, is foolproof.
Okay.
It works. And it's a really simple step-by-step system that I've developed where you use 10 tests to test the authenticity of the inner voice. And we don't have time on this teleseminar or teleconference to teach that method, but there are 10 tests. And I do teach them in two of my books, in my book, Divine Revelation, and in my book, How to Hear the Voice of God. So in those two books, if you read both of them, you'll get really a complete teaching of how to distinguish and discern between the true voice of spirit and other voices in your mind. Because you do not want to be getting messages from the mind. You want to be getting it from the spiritual world. So, you don't want to fall prey to, for example, wishful thinking, or to, your own mind that's deluding you, or even to energies in the astral world that are not good energies that you might fall prey to. So it's something that you need to be very cautious about, actually. But once you learn how to do it, it really works.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I know for myself that when I do go in and listen and trust that guidance, that, so many possibilities open up for me that I never could even fathom would be possible. The things just start coming and the signs start coming, and I'm like, wow, yeah, it's really amazing.
Coincidences that are not really coincidental start happening in your life. Miracles start taking place all over your life. And you are living a divine life. You're living in the flow of divine guidance. It's an incredibly powerful way to live. And that is my aspiration. That's what I attempt to do day by day. But it is very challenging to do that, Mel. It's not that easy.
No, it's not. And that's why I'm drawn to you. I was just like, wow, because this is where I feel I've been led, actually. And I just interviewed someone who does human design, and I found out that I'm a projector, and I'm all about living on faith. And I've been operating the opposite. I've been operating as a do it, just get it done, push through everything, where I'm actually supposed to respond to things. I'm not supposed to take action. So I was like, yeah, it was really neat to learn about myself like that.
Cool. Yeah.
So this is also being the Dare to Dream Bigger Summit. We're learning how to harness the power of creation, get clear about our desires, and bring our biggest dream into reality. And a big piece of that is the law of attraction. And for people out there that don't know about the law of attraction or understand it, could you share a little bit about it with people?
Well, the law of attraction simply states, it is done unto you according to your belief. It is done unto you as you believe. So what that means is that your deepest belief, your deepest conviction is what manifests in your life. In other words, if you believe sincerely in your heart that you are a very prosperous person, then you are. Yeah. If you believe that you are very poverty-stricken, then that's what manifests in your life. And these deepest core beliefs or deepest convictions, they are something that are learned from not only this lifetime, but even from past lifetimes. So you have an entire belief structure that manifests in your life, manifests what you see around you in your life, is based upon what you believe. It's really quite simple, and it is just basically the law of karma. That's what it is.
Based on what we believe. So how do we get clear about the beliefs that are those key beliefs that might be limiting us or holding us back?
Right. Well, it's not really very difficult to find out what those are. Just look at your life. It's not really too hard to figure it out. So then once you've got it figured out, that's when you can begin to do some work on that. And there are many, many techniques for releasing limiting thoughts, feelings, and emotions and beliefs, structures and habits and so on. There's so many teachers that teach you how to release those. I use the power of prayer. Actually, personally, I use healing prayers and I use affirmations, and I use prayer in general is the main thing that I use in order to change beliefs and in order to manifest things in my life and in life of other people who come to me for help.
And
I
so,
use prayer.
and so as we're beginning to see the manifestations in our life and get clear about the beliefs that are coming up for us, how does one begin to actually start taking responsibility for that and making the shifts? Because I know for me, it's kind of intimidating to see that I created that and then I have to swallow that pill that I created that and then make the changes.
Yeah, I mean, the first step in making the change is the realization of I did this. I'm responsible for this. And that is a very hard pill to swallow, that people realize, oh my goodness, could I have created this somehow? And it isn't that you want to, for example, have an accident or have a terrible illness. Obviously, consciously, you didn't choose that.
Right.
It is your deep subconscious mind that has created that. So, don't get a big guilt trip over it, because it's it's something that probably didn't even happen in this lifetime. It was probably some old belief from a past lifetime. And sometimes we manifest things in our life because we want to punish ourselves for something that happened in the past. And that's kind of a not very healthy, shall we say, way to manifest things. But then there may be another reason for us to manifest something that's not very pleasant in our life. And we don't know what that reason is.
Right.
For example, why would a baby be born into a crack family?
Right.
Or why would a baby be born blind or something like that? Why would they choose that for themselves? And we don't know why. It may be a contract that they had with their parents. It may be a way for them to teach people, a way for themselves to learn something. We don't know what the soul needs. So that's why it's really important for us to not judge what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, because we don't know. Somebody who's in prison right now, they may have chosen that for a specific reason that we don't even understand. It may be a spiritual process for them. So we can't judge people, and we can't judge ourselves. We have to just do the best we can with whatever we've manifested so far. And if we want to change it, we can do that.
Yeah.
It's possible to do that with enough inner work. And as I said, I believe prayer is really a powerful way to change your life. But even more powerful, in my opinion, is meditation.
Yeah.
I believe that meditation is really the key to everything as far as transformation of your life for good.
Now, let me ask you a question. So, spending the 22 years in the ashram, meditating for 22 years, and then it wasn't until after that that you had an awakening. So, what's the difference between your meditation then and your meditation now?
Actually, I had amazing experiences when I was in the ashram for 22 years. And I had incredible experiences of expanded awareness, of unbounded consciousness, of bliss, of devotion, of divine love. I mean, I had amazing, amazing experiences. And I also had experiences of what they call the siddhis, which are particular supernatural or supernormal powers that is talked about in the book, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So things like doing levitation and other supernormal abilities. Yeah, I did practice that when I was in the ashram. I had fantastic experiences. I have no complaints about my incredible spiritual experiences in the ashram. The difference between that and what happened after I learned how to listen to the still small voice within is I had a different way to experience the divine presence. When I was in the ashram, I was experiencing what we call Sat Chit Ananda, or absolute bliss consciousness. What I was not experiencing was the personal aspect or aspects of God, which is more of a love vibration. Yeah. It's an experience of divine love, and it's also a very practical way to be guided in your everyday life, to bring that spiritual awareness into everyday life. And that's really what I do my best to help other people to do, is to bring that right into your everyday life. that spiritual expansion, that spiritual awareness, and that connection to spirit with a capital S.
What a great gift to the world that you bring, Dr. Susan.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Could you share with us also why there are no victims and only volunteers in this life?
Well, as we were saying earlier, you're creating everything in your life subconsciously, mostly subconsciously. So you have volunteered on some deep subconscious level. You've volunteered to go through whatever it is that you've created in your life. So, by the way, that phrase, there are no victims, there are volunteers, that came from a wonderful teacher called Terry Cole Whitaker. That was her phrase that she always used to use. So the whole idea that we are responsible for everything, because, you know, the Lord Buddha, in the very first verse of the first chapter of the Dhammapada, which is the most important scripture in Buddhism, he tells us all that we are is the result of what we have thought. Well, think about that, Mel. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. And then Lord Buddha goes on to say, if a person speaks or acts with a pure thought, then happiness follows him or her. If a person speaks or acts with an impure thought, then unhappiness follows him or her. So what Lord Buddha is telling us in that verse is many things. He's saying that we're creating our own destiny and our own reality through our thoughts, right?
Yep.
And then he goes on to say, if we speak or act, right? So he's also talking about speech, and he's talking about deeds. So what we're doing is we're creating our own reality through our thoughts, our words, and our deeds. And so everything you think, everything you say, and everything you do manifests your destiny. So if you go around and saying, oh, I'm so poor, I'm so poor, oh, I'm so fat, I'm so fat, oh, I'm so unhappy, I'm so sick, you know, things like that, when you are invoking the very powerful, mighty words, I am, which, by the way, is an invocation of the divine presence when you are using those words, I am. It's a very good idea that whatever you say after you use the mighty I am presence, if you are going to say I am, it's a very good idea to say something that you want to own, like I am prosperous, I am happy, I am joyous, I'm fulfilled, I am filled with light, I'm filled with love, I'm filled with truth, I am slender, I am healthy, and so on.
Yes, we have all those negative tapes that come out first, and it's beautiful to see how as we begin to go listen to that still small voice, that those tapes actually start to shift, and you don't have those thoughts anymore. The I am fat shifts to automatically I am prosperous. You don't even have that debate anymore.
Right.
Dr. Susan, it's been so wonderful to have you here and sharing all your wisdom with us. I understand that you have a free gift you'd like to offer everybody for them to take advantage of.
Yes, actually, I believe that's at susangift.com. susangift.com. Is that the correct address that I had given you? I hope so.
I believe so, but it'll also be in the email for everybody that goes out with this interview, so you'll be able to click the link right in the email you got to watch this video.
I'm actually going to go there on my computer to just make sure that that's the correct one. susangift.com.
Perfect. Excellent. And then did you have any final words you'd like to share with our audience before we close?
Yes, you may go to my website anytime, drsusan.org, where you can read the first chapter of my books, where you can listen to a lot of interviews, and there's a tremendous amount of information there. And also another website is divinetravels.com. That's divinetravels.com. And there you can find about the various tours, retreats, conferences, cruise ship seminars, and different trips to sacred destinations that are totally awesome. And the other thing I want to say is that I just want everyone to realize that they are mighty, powerful, divine, spiritual beings, every one of us. And we have a tremendous potential, much more than we could ever imagine. And simply by going within and learning how to listen to that still small voice within and beginning to follow and trust your inner guidance, your life is going to be filled with miracles. Your life will change, and you'll never be the same. You'll be You'll be so filled with confidence and with inner peace and with inner knowing, just knowing you're on the right path, doing the right thing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I urge everyone to learn how to listen to that divine voice.
Thank you so much, Dr. Susan, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing in the world. Thank you for being here, and I dare everyone to dream bigger. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.